there we go. We finally got a good showcase this week. Xbox, in my opinion, is really the only one that delivered the essence of E3 this year. And for all the people that told me that the Summer Game Fest was quote-unquote pretty good, I got a lot of that in the comments from my last video, but here's my answer to that. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that the Xbox showcase was, the best showcase in all of existence, because it wasn't. I'll give my grade here at the end, but what it did is what the other two didn't. Unlike the State of Play, the Xbox showcase had an actual theme to it. There were actual Xbox studios that made an appearance. And if it wasn't an Xbox studio, it was either an Xbox Game Pass game or an Xbox Play Anywhere game. I mean, you Game Pass subscribers are eating it up right now because it's just handing games out like they're candy. But that's what I was trying to say the other day about the PlayStation State of Play. You could have literally slapped any logo into that showcase, and it wouldn't have made a difference at all. It didn't feel like a PlayStation event. It was just a bunch of random stuff thrown into an event, and then they called it a day. Where's the excitement? Where's the justification for PlayStation fans that invested into their consoles to play PlayStation-developed games? Where was all of that? Xbox, though, they delivered on that front. If you're a part of the Xbox ecosystem, then there were a lot of games to look forward to, whether it be first party or for Xbox Game Pass. Then as for the Summer Game Fest, that was a 2-hour showcase. And somehow, it feels like Xbox revealed more exciting games in almost half the time. That just shouldn't happen. Jeff Keighley has always had pacing problems in his showcases, and he just doesn't justify the length of his showcases. It's just a bunch of fluff thrown together to make for a really long event. That's what I was trying to convey the other day. Not that there weren't a few good reveals, because there were. I'm extremely excited for Resident Evil 9. It's probably my most anticipated game right now. But in all honesty, I could have simply gotten a random trailer drop, and I would have been more satisfied instead of having to watch a 2-hour event with little justification to it. That's why I said it was an average event. But yes, Xbox once again has proven why I'm confident in their showcases. I mean, they started off with just game after game after game. They revealed Outer Worlds 2 gameplay right out of the gate, which, to be fair, the first game didn't necessarily blow me away. It's basically Fallout in space, but at a much smaller scale. Even still, though, it is a good RPG. I know a lot of people really liked it, and I think the sequel, so far, looks even better. So that makes me hopeful to revisit the sequel, and especially because it's a part of Game Pass. I mean, you really don't have to make a huge investment to play a lot of the games they revealed today, including the Outer Worlds 2, which apparently is $80 as a standalone title. Now, I don't know if I agree with that, but all in all, the Outer Worlds 2 is looking pretty good so far. One of my absolute favorite announcements, though, was Super Meat Boy 3D. Now, I've gone on record several times on this channel that I believe Super Meat Boy is a top 10, if not a top 5 platformer of all time. It's challenging, it's fun, and it's also unique. It's really pretty much everything that I want in a platformer. And now it's coming back with a brand new twist, and I am absolutely loving what we're seeing here. I adore 3D platformers as is, but one of the things about this genre is that they do lack challenge. So I'm incredibly excited to see how Super Meat Boy implements that challenging gameplay. And also, I just gotta say, I love the art style here. This game looks incredible in every way imaginable, and it'll be a day one buy for me when it releases in 2026. Now, Grounded 2 also made a surprise appearance, and this is one of those games that's quietly going to be a big-time game when it releases. I still remember when they first launched the first game into early access years ago, and there were a lot of naysayers. A lot of people scoffed at it, and they thought, why in the world is Microsoft funding this small indie-like title from Obsidian? And, well, you know what happened? they proved all of those people wrong. It not only turned out to be a great game, but it was also a huge hit on both Xbox and especially over on Steam. So much so that their passion project wound up getting a sequel that we're seeing here. So I think that tells you pretty much everything that you need to know. And even better here is that it's going to release next month on July 29th. So we're not even going to have to wait all that long. You can just go ahead and add this to that killer lineup that Game Pass currently has right now. And speaking of Game Pass, I speculated about this the other day, and well, I was actually right on the money. Persona 4 Revival not only got its official announcement, but it's also a day one Game Pass title. So that Persona Game Pass relationship will live on with Persona 4, and I'm telling you right now, Persona 4 is an amazing game. Personally, I think it's the best Persona title. It is my favorite. But even if you don't agree with that, that's perfectly fine. But it's still an all-time great JRPG. This is a must-play experience for fans of the genre. Though, we don't have a release date quite just yet. So we're going to have to wait a bit longer for that, but I'm still thrilled to get an official confirmation for one of my all-time favorite games ever made. And since we're on the topic of beloved JRPGs, the Final Fantasy games are finally making their way over to Xbox. Now, if you've been paying attention to Square Enix and the things that they've said these past 2 years, this was really always more of a win than an if, though I still had comments claiming otherwise. But nonetheless, Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade will release this winter, and I know it's been a long wait, but this game really is every bit as good as people make it out to be. If you like Final Fantasy VII, this game expands upon the characters so much, and it just adds a lot of layers to an already all-time great game. So just go out and play it is all I can say. And even if you haven't played Final Fantasy, still go out and play it because there's a reason that people love this game so much. It is an all-time great. And, well, Final Fantasy VII isn't quite all, though, because they also revealed Final Fantasy XVI as well. Now, 16 is actually available on Xbox today, which that right there is a big surprise. And, okay, so I know this isn't a fan favorite entry for the Final Fantasy series. A lot of people would have preferred a more traditional combat system, and I get that. But I think for what it is, it's still a really good game. I really enjoyed its world. I loved the characters, and I really enjoyed its more mature story. It's actually probably one of my favorite Final Fantasy stories, in fact, but it did have one big issue over on PlayStation. It does have some frame pacing problems, even on the PS5 Pro, so I'm curious to see if that will translate over to the Xbox Series X as well. My guess is that it probably will, but there is an advantage that Xbox has, and that is its VRR capability. It does have better VRR, so there is a chance that it might feel a little bit more stable on the Xbox Series X. I mean, I guess we're going to find out later today, but there you go. Final Fantasy is back on Xbox, and now you just kind of got to wait for Rebirth. Also, High on Life 2 made an appearance for a winter release. I know the first game was a massive fan favorite when it released a couple years ago, and this is really one of the reasons that I enjoyed this showcase. It had a good mix of really exciting sequels like this, and also new IP, which we're going to get into all of that in here in just a moment, but yeah, you can see some new talking weapons in this trailer. There's also a skateboard this time around, which, hey, that's kind of cool. And oh, yeah, by the way, it's another Day 1 Game Pass title. You gotta love it. And that also includes the next sequel that they announced, being Resonance: A Plague Tale Legacy. I mean, I guess this is probably more of a prequel, but it is still a part of one of the better story-driven single-player franchises out there. It's a very unique series that combines stealth elements with a rat-infested world. This time, though, we're going to play as an adult, however, so it'll probably feel a little bit different this time around. But I think this universe is worth exploring at least one more time, and like I said, it's another Game Pass game. So there's that theme for the show once again. They're just giving Xbox fans plenty to enjoy despite a lot of these being multi-platform games. That's why this is an Xbox showcase and not some random multi-platform showcase. It's because they have a theme for their viewers. Now, Let's go talk about some new IP, though, because there were a few that got my attention. And we might as well go and start off with some first-party games. The first of which is Double Fine's newest game, Keeper. Now, honestly, this is a very bizarre platforming game. It's going to be niche. I don't know how in the world they came up with a lighthouse as their main character, but that's really a part of Double Fine's charm. They're a very creative, quirky studio, and it's why a lot of people love them. You know, whether it be Psychonauts, Brutal Legends, Stacking, or the list just kind of goes on and on and on, they are filled to the brim with these quirky ideas. But the thing is that more often than not, they tend to execute on those strangely weird ideas. So even though I'm on the fence for this game, because it's Double Fine, I'm at the very least curious about the end result. This is a good studio worth paying attention to, and it will be out on October 17th. Then there was Clockwork Revolution, and this is inXOWL's next game, another studio acquisition that they made back in, 2017? But this is another RPG powerhouse under the Xbox umbrella, and I was not sold on this game prior to today. The original trailer showcased an interesting BioShock-like world, and, that's cool and everything, but I still needed gameplay, and that's what we got today. They revealed that the main protagonist is a player-created character, which I actually like that in this case. It's got a Bethesda RPG feel-like to it with its NPC dialogue, and there's even weapon customization. So I am now very interested in this game, but I think my only thing right now is that his performance did look a little rough, or at least in the stream, but if that's the case, it is still in development. So they still have some time to fix that up, but I don't know. It's kind of like this Bethesda-like BioShock experience combined into one, and I think that's just a cool combination on paper. So I want to put this one on my radar now. It's looking pretty good. And speaking of looking good, there was one new IP that really, really took me by surprise. Mudang Two Hearts. Now, this is a stealth action thriller set in South Korea. Its description reads, in the not-too-distant future, the divided nations of South and North Korea are on the verge of reunification. On the day when the historic bill was set to pass, a mystery terrorist group attacks the South Korean National Assembly, throwing the entire nation into chaos. Sent to uncover the truth, a North Korean soldier stumbles upon a K-pop star and is given a new mission: protect the girl who can unravel it all. As their stories intertwine, a chilling truth begins to take shape. So I like the premise, but my goodness, look at this gameplay. It looks phenomenal. It's kind of like Splinter Cell meets zombies. I mean, it's intense, and the atmosphere is ominous. So, this right here is just one of the reasons that I've been really excited about South Korean developers coming over to AAA consoles. They do offer a unique perspective, a unique touch that we haven't really seen from other developers worldwide. And that's all on full display here in this trailer. Much like last year's Expedition 33, I could very well see this in being the sleeper hit of the show. It will release in 2026. There was even a Pokemon-like RPG here. This is a Nemo where you run around an open world and basically turn into all of these different creatures that you fight and partner up with. I mean, Nintendo's lawyers are probably foaming at the teeth seeing this trailer, but it's another monster tamer with a new spin on it. And if you haven't noticed by this point, there's just so many games that I can talk about at this showcase, and I think that there's a very real audience for all of them. Genuinely exciting announcements. Even Game Freak, the actual studio behind the mainline Pokemon games, was at this event. I mean, the performance seemed iffy, which is sadly very fitting for them, but they do have a new Sekiro-like IP. It's an action RPG with parrying as a core mechanic. I think the game itself and the idea is interesting on paper. I even like the visuals, but yeah, they definitely need to fix its performance before they show it again. I think that's going to be a big red flag for a lot of people, just given their recent reputation. But like I said, there was just a ton of really exciting reveals here. Ninja Gaiden 4 got some new gameplay. Indiana Jones is getting some new DLC. They revealed the new Xbox ROG Ally handheld, which we haven't even talked about that. Maybe I'll talk about that in a future video. And then there was even a new 3 versus 3 superhero fighting game. So the fighting game community right now is just living it up with that Marvel game that they showed at the PlayStation Showcase, and now this as well. But yeah, this was a really strong showcase and a great example of why I said that I was underwhelmed by the other 2 showcases that we talked about this week. I don't know if people have just kind of forgotten what it feels like to watch E3 events, but this was an E3-like event. I think the only thing that held the Xbox Showcase back was that it was missing updates for key games that they revealed years ago. So if you were expecting Fable, Perfect Dark, or State of Decay 3, unfortunately, we got nothing on those games, and that is a shame. I know a lot of people would at least like some kind of an update for them, but besides that, I thought this was still a strong showcase. I'll go ahead and give it a B+ for all of the reasons that I just mentioned. Let me know what you think, though. What grade would you give the Xbox Showcase? And go ahead and rank the 3 showcases that we witnessed this week. Until next time, though, make sure to subscribe, ring that bell, and peace out.